Okay, hi. My name is Maria Bellman. I am an organizer with BAMN, and I'm an undocumented student. I was born in Mexico. Um, when I was 5 months old, my father was killed by a drunk driver. So my mom was left alone with 5 children to raise by herself. So she brought us to this country, but she didn't bring us to this country to be, discriminated against or, exploited. She brought us here to get an education so we could have, a better future. So now, so I grew up knowing that I had a right to a public education. But now for undocumented students who graduate from high school, they're being denied that right. So for me, high school was one of the worst times of my life because that's when I found out that after high school, if you were undocumented, you weren't guaranteed anything because you didn't get money for, public higher education. So, I worked really hard during high school to get into college, but, now the government is telling me that I can't go. So, but, and I already knew it was going to be really hard to go to college, but I still wanted to go because I still knew that I had the right to that education, even when the government was telling me that I didn't have it. So I came to Berkeley, and since, coming to Berkeley, I've learned a lot. I said before that high school was kind of, one of the worst times of my life, but, compared to high school, my experience in Berkeley was just like, it's just way, way worse. It just is. So I spent my first semester at Berkeley commuting from Sacramento, actually. So I would leave the house at about 6 in the morning. I would take the light rail, the train, and the bus just to get to campus. And then I would have to do it all over again, and I would get home at about 11 at night every single day. So it was really exhausting, and it wasn't just physically exhausting, it was really emotionally exhausting. So I did that for almost a semester. I was running out of money, and, depression was just getting way, way worse, and I was about ready to give up, and I found it comforting in saying to myself, at least I tried, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't give up. And so that's when I started organizing with BAM. So I've been in BAM since I was a freshman, and that was 2 years ago. So it's going to be 2 in October. And the organizing I do because I want to win. That's part of the reason I didn't give up. So, if you want to win something, you have to fight for it. So, you don't succeed in gelling a killer cop if you don't have mass mobilizations in the streets. And you don't uphold the right to a public education if you don't fight for everyone's right to a public education, regardless of documentation, of class, of race, of anything. And you don't win the DREAM Act if you leave it up to the politicians. So I don't have any confidence in politicians passing the DREAM Act on their own, because if that were the case, they would have passed it when it was introduced 10 years ago. So I know what it takes to win, and it's not lobbying or relying on some liberal politicians. Winning means undocumented students standing up for their rights and fighting back. And if these politicians think that the past 10 years have just served to demoralize us into not fighting, then they're wrong. If anything, the continual denial of our rights has just made us angrier. So to say it is a completely fucked up situation is just an understatement. It's not just that you're denying students the right to an education. We are also denying them the right to drive, to travel abroad, to work, to marry. It's just a complete denial of basic human rights. So I'm really angry, and I'm just really angry that I'm being denied the right to public education. I'm angry that politicians think that they have the right to dictate my life, and I'm angry that because of lack of funding, I've had to withdraw from UC Berkeley, not once, but twice. But no, I'm not the only one who's angry. There are hundreds of thousands of undocumented students across the country, and believe me, they're just as angry. So we're not gonna give up. These 10 years have done more for us in terms of, giving us the ability to actually stand up and fight. So we're not going away. You can't ignore hundreds and thousands of people who are angry. So we're here, and we're uniting, and we're gonna fight by any means necessary for our right to be at these universities and to be in this country as citizens with everything that entitles you to. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
You did good.